and I don't get it. Like, whenever I bought him from an old man. He just had some horses, bred them, got this little colt out of him, or out of his mare, and he treated him like a puppy dog. So you go out there and he wants to follow you. If you don't pay him any attention, his neck's got to be on you, lips got to be moving, and it's just the biggest pain.
Okay. What has happened, and well, we've all seen this. What has happened is somebody pulled him rotten on the ground, okay? And I would advise you to, if you want to cure that, okay? And it's a pain, because he's learned that, all right? And if he's just going to mooch all over you like that and everything, horses, there's two things they're great at. They're great at mooching, and they're great at cheating. Clinton Anderson always says, thank God they don't play cards. Yeah. Because we'd all be broke. So what we want to do is it's easy to teach a horse to come to you, okay? All you got to do is have a handful of food or treats. The hard part is teaching a horse to get away from you, like especially his shoulder. You've got to get that shoulder away from you. So what you need to do is, and don't drive them crazy. I mean, you can drive them crazy with groundwork because you just do it over and over until they go insane. But probably I would go back to some groundwork and use a lead. If you don't have a round pin, use a lunge line. I like to use a rope instead of a nylon because I hate having my fingers burned off. But, and you've got probably the one, and I keep saying about Clinton Anderson because Clinton's very easy to understand. And Pat Pirelli's wonderful, and Chris Cox is wonderful, and they're all, but Clinton is probably, he will tell you exactly what he's doing. And you need to go back and do some groundwork. You need to teach that horse, get off me, okay? But by the same token, you got to watch it, then you'll never be able to catch him again. Okay? But you can teach that horse to come to you when you want him, but you got to teach him to get off. Okay. But when you put a saddle on him, no matter where you are, he's fine?
He's excellent.
Okay.
I mean, he's one of the best cow horses I've
And then you're really lucky. You got a great deal. You just need to work a little bit on his groundwork. Just his manners, you know, like get over, get off me, stuff like that.
And if you get some words in his vocabulary,
Yeah.
because then you can use the word.
Yeah. Like, you damn idiot or something.
You're rambling is going on.
Whatever word you want.
Yeah, words you don't use in here, okay?
And Jerry's right about that. I think one of the biggest things that I see is that we forget that you're dealing with anything from 1,000 to 1,800 pound animal. This isn't a cat or a dog. It's not your best friend. It's a 1,000 pound animal or better, and it can hurt you. And it has got to have manners. And I don't care what discipline we're working in. We see this where people just want to spoil them, give them treats. Oh, he just bit my finger off, naughty boy. You know, give me a break. You know, you can get hurt doing this, and it's gotten worse. I think, certainly gotten worse in my lifetime. I think as more and more of us move further away from the farm.
Yeah.
People just don't do it. Now I see people doing stupid stuff. She's scared to she's going to get bucked off, but then she sits there and allows him to walk all over on top of her. And you just need to remember, it's a 1,000 pound animal. Would you allow your car to do that to you? You know, or your ATV? So that's the biggest thing, is they've got to have some manners.
Is he bothering you when he's loose in the pasture and you're out there doing something, or when you're saddling him or leading him?
When he's loose, like if I do fence work or anything like that, he's got to be right there like
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
And
see.
if you go, as soon as you go to turn, he knows you want you gone, and he'll take off, and he comes back.
So he doesn't
Sometimes you
respect
just
your
can't break
space.
that.
Made a game out of
They're
it.
tough. They're tough.
I get that a lot with clients' horses that come in for training. They don't have very good patience or manners, or you'll have them tied to the trailer, and you know, I like to be able to just touch them to move them over to pick feed or groom, and they'll push into you or step into your space, and it's like, are you kidding me? How old are you? But, you know, and you're shocked, because like mine, I just point at their foot and they're handing it to me. And I'll have horses come in that don't even understand that. And you know, like Greta was saying, you have to have manners because they're too big not to, you know, and so I think that's really important. Maybe when he's naughty like that, tie him up and then work around him, and then he'll be like, darn. Maybe he'll just stay out of your space or something. Make it
Yeah, that's a good
uncomfortable
idea.
for him.
That's a good idea, time.
Yep.
Also, 'cause like when the farrier's there,
Mhm.
he's fine with me, but if he sees the farrier at his front feet and the farrier's not paying attention, the whole time he wants to get his
Mess
head
with him.
down to get
Yeah,
the
that's
farrier to
spoiled.
pay.
We have a gray horse in my barn like that, and he was raised by a teenage girl, and they grew up together, and he has no boundaries. You can bring every horse out for the fair, and he's perfect. I mean, everyone's perfect except for him, and we just dread getting him out because his manners are atrocious, and you spend so much time just schooling him, you know?
That's the thing, like, nobody believes it, because they see him loose, and they're like, what are you doing with him? But then as soon as you put him under saddle,
Mhm.
Different
it's like a
horses.
switch
Yeah.
flip.
It's like they're Dennis the Menace on the ground. They just can't find enough trouble to get into. Yeah, I know that horse. I tie that horse up. I just tie that horse up. Just stay over there.
Makes sense to me, boy.
I like it.
Speaking
The
of
patience pole.
tying the horse up, and I'm sure all three of us have had clients that object to us tying horses up. And I'm a firm believer in tying your horse up and leaving it for hours, okay? And if you go like to Tom Curtin's place, who's up in North Florida, he was a great friend of Ray Hunt's. Every tree has ropes hanging down from it, okay? And they tie the horse, snap the horse to it. He can't get in any trouble. There's nothing for him to get into. He can paw and dig a hole to China, but he isn't going to get caught in a fence or anything like that. He's out in the middle of space. And they leave him there. And pretty soon they get where when you go out and hook them up, they just go to sleep, okay? And when you go to a roping, for example, you will see 100 horses tied up asleep, okay? And you go to some horse shows, and they're all idiots.
And they crawled holes this deep, and
You know, you see that at the hunter jumper shows too. It's,
Mhm.
it's slightly
Oh, yeah.
different because you'll see all those kids sitting on their ponies and all the ponies are just
Yeah, you do.
I mean, they make perfect chairs. They bring them up there and they park them at the
they
ring,
camp
you know.
on them
So
all day long.
you
They
teach
camp on 'em.
them. You teach them. The great Bob Loomis one time did a video, and he was one of the fathers of reining. And Bob Loomis said, people ask me, he said, how do you get your horses to stand still? He goes, I sit on them a lot.